Have you ever felt like you're carrying 1,000 invisible weights on your back, but can't quite explain why you're so exhausted inside? Maybe you wake up every morning with good intentions, but by the end of the day, you feel drained, frustrated, and strangely empty. What if I told you that it's not because of what's missing in your life, but because of what you still keep? Today, we're diving into something powerful. 10 things you should quietly eliminate from your life in silence. Because sometimes, peace doesn't come from adding more. It comes from subtracting what no longer belongs. Before we start, if you truly want to transform your inner world, your love life, your peace, your purpose, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. Like this video and watch it till the end. Because once you understand what's secretly draining you, you'll never live the same way again. Number 1, the need for constant validation. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever posted a picture, maybe one where you looked your best, not because you wanted to, but because you wanted someone specific to see it? Maybe your ex, maybe that person you once loved deeply, but who never quite valued you enough. And then you waited, staring at your phone, hoping for that one like, that one comment, that one reaction. It's strange, isn't it? How a small red heart on a screen can make us feel seen, wanted, even loved, for just a moment. But when it doesn't come, it feels like rejection all over again. That's the trap of constant validation. It's when your peace, your worth, your mood, all depend on how others respond to you. It's when silence from someone hurts more than any word could. Let me tell you a story. There was once a boy who loved a girl so deeply that everything he did revolved around her. If he wore something nice, it was to impress her. If he succeeded, it was to make her proud. But every time she didn't notice, every time she didn't compliment or react, he felt invisible. So he kept trying harder, posting more, doing more, saying more, until one day he realized he wasn't living for himself anymore. He was living for her attention. And maybe in some way you've done that too. You've twisted yourself into shapes just to be noticed. You've dimmed your truth to fit someone else's idea of beautiful, worthy, or lovable. But here's something no one told you. The moment your happiness depends on someone else's approval, you've handed them the keys to your peace. You've allowed their silence to define your value. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." The same applies here. It's not their reaction that hurts you, it's the meaning you attach to it. So imagine this: you stop posting for attention, you stop waiting for replies, you stop checking who viewed your story. Instead, you start creating, dressing, speaking, and living for yourself. Not because someone will see it, but because you love it. That's where real freedom begins. The day you stop needing validation is the day you finally meet your authentic self. The version of you who no longer needs to prove anything. So if you're watching this, maybe it's time to do something brave. Don't delete your posts. Don't disappear. Just silently shift. Start living for your reflection, not for reactions. Because the love you've been craving from others, that quiet recognition, that gentle approval, it's been waiting for you all along inside your own heart. And trust me, once you find peace there, no silence, no rejection, no lack of attention will ever shake you again. Number 2, the habit of overthinking every situation. Be honest with yourself for a moment. How many nights have you laid in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the same conversation over and over again? The words you said, the ones you wish you didn't, and the ones you hoped they would say but never did. Maybe it was with someone you loved. Maybe they said something small, "I just need some space." And suddenly your mind turned that single line into 1,000 painful stories. Did I do something wrong? Are they talking to someone else? Did they stop loving me? You see, overthinking isn't just a habit. It's a slow poison. It convinces you that something's wrong when nothing is. It makes you feel abandoned when no one left. It builds problems that only exist inside your imagination. Let me tell you a story. There was a girl who loved deeply, maybe too deeply. Every time her boyfriend went silent for a few hours, her heart would race. She'd check his last scene. She'd read their old messages. She'd type and delete a dozen texts just to check in. She wasn't crazy, she was scared. Scared of losing someone she thought she couldn't live without. But one day, after a night of crying over scenarios that never happened, she realized something powerful. She wasn't fighting him. She was fighting her own mind. Her thoughts were her enemies, her imagination, her prison. Maybe you've been there too. You replay an argument, wondering what you could have said differently. You read meaning between every pause in their texts. You create stories to fill the silence. But here's the truth. Most of the things you worry about never even happen. Overthinking gives you the illusion of control. Like if you think enough, you can predict or prevent pain. But in reality, you're only reliving the pain before it even arrives. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That means peace begins not when life becomes perfect, but when your thoughts stop trying to control it. Think about it. How many moments of love have you destroyed because you couldn't stop analyzing them? How many good people have you pushed away because you doubted their silence instead of trusting their presence? Sometimes silence isn't rejection, it's just peace. Sometimes people don't reply because they're busy, not because they stopped caring. And sometimes things are not as deep as our fears make them seem. So the next time your mind starts racing, pause, breathe, ask yourself, is this real or am I creating it? Because the moment you stop overthinking, life becomes softer, love becomes easier, and your heart finally learns that not everything needs to be understood. Some things are just meant to be felt. Remember, peace doesn't come from solving everything. It comes from realizing you never needed to. Number 3, the people who only take and never give. Let me ask you something real. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you gave them everything? Your time, your energy, your heart, only to realize that they were never really giving anything back. Maybe it started beautifully. They made you feel special, wanted, needed. They text you every morning, call you every night. You felt seen, you felt alive. But slowly, things changed. Their calls became shorter, their replies colder, and yet you kept giving, hoping that one day they'd notice the effort you were still putting in. If you've ever been there, you know that kind of love doesn't break you all at once. It drains you quietly. It's the kind of pain where you smile on the outside but die a little more each day on the inside. You see, there are people in this world who only know how to take. They take your love, your kindness, your patience, but they never give it back. They come to you when they're lonely, when they need advice, when life hurts them. And you, being the soft-hearted person you are, always show up, always answer, always forgive. But ask yourself, who shows up for you? Who checks on you when you go quiet? Who listens when you're the one falling apart? Maybe you've already noticed. The ones who take too much never realize when they've taken too far. Let me tell you a short story. There was a man who once loved a woman with every piece of his heart. Whenever she was sad, he'd stay up just to make her smile. Whenever she was in trouble, he'd drop everything to be there. But when he needed her, when his world was falling apart, she was busy, distracted, or simply silent. And yet he stayed, because love makes you believe that if you just love harder, they'll love you back. But the truth is, love should never require begging for the same energy you freely give. That's the painful part, realizing you've built your peace around people who only come to borrow it. Marcus Aurelius said, "You will meet people who are ungrateful." Do not let that disturb your peace. You can't control how others love, but you can control what you continue to allow. So maybe it's time to stop explaining, stop proving, stop pouring into cups that never fill yours back. You don't have to block them or announce it. Just quietly stop showing up where you are not valued. Because the people who truly care about you, they don't just take, they give without keeping score. And one day you'll meet someone who matches your energy, someone who listens as deeply as you do. But that can only happen when you make space, by letting go of the ones who only take. So silently, gracefully let them go, because the love you give so freely deserves to flow in both directions. Number 4, the desire to control everything. Tell me honestly, have you ever loved someone so much that you wanted everything to go perfectly? You planned every word, every message, every moment, just to make sure they'd never lose interest, never walk away, never hurt you the way someone once did. But life doesn't work like that, does it? No matter how careful you are, people change, feelings fade, moments end. And that's what hurts the most. Realizing that you can't control what you love the most. There was once a girl who loved a man with all her heart. She would text him first, make plans, check on him, fix every argument. She tried to make everything right before it could go wrong. She thought love was about holding on tighter, but the tighter she held, the more he slipped away. Until one day he stopped replying altogether. And in that silence, she learned something she never wanted to learn. You can't control someone into staying. You can't plan your way into being loved. You can't fix everything by yourself. Maybe you've been that person too. You try to control outcomes, the relationship, the job, your future, thinking if you just do everything right, nothing will fall apart. But that's the cruel illusion of control. It makes you believe you're protecting yourself, when in reality you're exhausting yourself. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." The Stoics understood something most people never do. Peace doesn't come from control, it comes from acceptance. Think about your love life for a second. How many times have you checked your phone, waiting for a message that didn't come? How many times have you replayed a fight, wishing you could change the words you said? How many times have you tried to fix someone who didn't even want to be fixed? You see, the moment you try to control everything, you lose the most beautiful part of love. It's spontaneity. Love isn't meant to be managed. It's meant to be felt. Sometimes people leave. Sometimes plans fail. Sometimes the person you thought would stay forever doesn't. And it's not your fault. It's just life unfolding as it must. When you stop trying to control everything, something magical happens. Peace enters. You stop begging, stop overthinking, stop trying to predict tomorrow. You start breathing again. You start noticing small joys again. The morning light, your favorite song, your own heartbeat. So maybe it's time to surrender, not to give up, but to let go. Let go of the illusion that you can control love, people, or destiny. Because when you finally stop chasing control, you make room for something far more beautiful: trust. And trust me, once you learn to trust life, it begins to surprise you in the most peaceful, unexpected ways. Number 5, the habit of comparing your journey. Let me ask you something from the heart. Have you ever looked at someone else's life, their relationship, their success, their happiness, and suddenly felt like your own life wasn't enough? Maybe you saw a couple laughing on social media, traveling together, looking perfect, and for a moment you thought, why can't my love feel like that? It's such a quiet pain, isn't it? You start comparing your relationship, your looks, your progress, even your healing, to people who might be just pretending to be okay. And without realizing it, you start shrinking your own joy because someone else's story looks brighter from a distance. There was once a boy who loved a girl deeply. They had their ups and downs, but what broke them apart wasn't betrayal or distance. It was comparison. The girl would constantly say, "Look at how happy other couples are," or "Why can't you be more like him?" And the boy, no matter how hard he tried, always felt like he was never enough. In the end, love didn't leave them. Comparison did. Maybe you've been in that place too, where you look at other people's relationships and wonder why yours doesn't sparkle like theirs. But what you don't see behind those smiles are the silent arguments, the tears, the compromises, the things no one ever posts. That's the curse of comparison. It makes you forget that your journey, your love, your growth has its own timing. You start believing that because someone else reached a milestone before you, you're somehow behind. But life isn't a race, it's a rhythm, and everyone dances to their own beat. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself." And that's exactly what comparison steals from you, your gratitude. Because when you keep looking at someone else's path, you stop appreciating the beauty of your own. Think about it. How many times have you scrolled through social media and suddenly felt like your relationship wasn't enough? But remember, those pictures are just moments, not stories. You never know what happens after the camera stops clicking. Instead of comparing, try cherishing. Cherish the late-night talks with your partner, the inside jokes, the little things only the two of you understand. Because true love isn't about how it looks to others. It's about how it feels to you. Your journey might be slower, quieter, or messier than others, but it's real, and that's what makes it beautiful. So next time you catch yourself comparing, pause and remind yourself, you are not late, you are not behind, and your story is unfolding exactly as it should. Because when you stop comparing, you start living. And when you start living, you finally start loving, not like others, but like you. Number 6, the fear of being alone. Let me ask you something deeply personal. When was the last time you sat in silence? No phone, no messages, no one beside you, just you and your thoughts? Did it feel peaceful or painful? Most people aren't afraid of being alone. They're afraid of what their thoughts will say when the noise stops. They're afraid of the memories that come rushing in, the people who left, the moments that ended, the love that slipped away too soon. Maybe you've been there, staying in a relationship that already died long ago, pretending everything's fine because you can't imagine life without them. You check your phone constantly, just to make sure anyone is thinking about you. You tell yourself you're in love, but deep down, you know it's fear. Fear of being forgotten, fear of being lonely, fear of being left behind. There was once a woman who stayed with a man who didn't love her anymore. He had stopped trying, stopped caring, but she couldn't walk away. Every time she thought about leaving, she imagined coming home to an empty room, an empty bed, and that silence. That silence scared her more than his indifference. So she stayed, not because she was happy, but because she was afraid of facing herself. And that's what the fear of being alone does. It makes you settle for half love, for half effort, for half peace. It convinces you that any presence, even the wrong one, is better than your own company. But here's the truth. Solitude isn't punishment. It's healing. It's the quiet space where you finally hear your own voice after years of listening to everyone else. It's the mirror where you meet the version of yourself you abandoned while chasing love that wasn't meant for you. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." That means the peace you've been looking for in others, it's been inside you all along, waiting for you to stop running. Think about it. How many times have you said yes when you wanted to say no, just because you feared losing someone? How many times have you texted first? Not because you wanted to, but because the silence scared you. But one day, you realize something powerful. Loneliness isn't the absence of people. It's the absence of connection with yourself. When you start loving your own company, you stop accepting love that costs you your peace. When you start enjoying the silence, you stop chasing noise disguised as affection. So tonight, instead of texting someone who makes you feel small, put your phone down. Sit with yourself. Listen to your thoughts, your heart, your breath. Because once you learn to be comfortable alone, no one will ever be able to control your peace again. And one day, you'll meet someone not because you need them, but because you choose them. And that kind of love is the purest love of all. Number 7, the need to explain yourself. Have you ever found yourself in that uncomfortable place where you keep explaining your actions, your feelings, your silence, just to make someone understand you? Maybe it was with someone you love deeply. Maybe you remember sitting on the edge of your bed, typing a long message, deleting it, rewriting it, and still thinking, will they understand me this time? You didn't want to sound defensive. You just wanted them to see you, to understand your heart, your intentions. But they didn't. And the more you explained, the more distant they seemed. That's the trap of always trying to explain yourself, especially to people who don't care to listen. Let me take you to a story. There was a girl named Sarah. She loved deeply, maybe too deeply. Every time her boyfriend got upset, she would overthink everything. What she said, how she said it, what she wore, how she reacted. She'd spend nights writing long paragraphs, trying to explain how she didn't mean to hurt him, how she was just tired, how her silence wasn't anger. It was pain. But every time her explanations fell on deaf ears. He wasn't listening. He didn't want to understand her. He just wanted to be right. And you know what happened? The more she tried to explain herself, the smaller she became. Her confidence faded. Her laughter changed. Even her reflection in the mirror started to look like someone she didn't know anymore. Maybe you've been there too. Maybe you tried to explain why you didn't text back immediately, why you need space, why you couldn't meet their expectations. And instead of being understood, you were made to feel guilty, like your feelings needed approval. But here's a truth that Stoicism teaches. You owe no explanation for your peace. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, stop explaining, start living. Because people who truly care about you won't demand explanations. They'll understand your silence. The need to explain yourself comes from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood, fear of losing love. But let me tell you something, love that demands endless explanations is not love. It's control. The day Sarah stopped explaining herself was the day she began to heal. She realized that peace isn't found in convincing others. It's found in accepting yourself. So let me ask you, have you ever apologized for things that didn't even require an apology? Have you ever stayed up late, trying to write a message that explains your heart to someone who doesn't deserve it? If you have, then it's time to stop. You don't need to explain your silence, your growth, your healing, or your distance. Because sometimes silence is the explanation. And maybe, just maybe, the right people will understand it without a single word. Number 8. The emotional attachment to the past. Let me ask you something. Do you ever find yourself replaying old memories? Not because you want to, but because your heart refuses to let go. You lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, and suddenly you're back there, in that moment when everything felt right. That one laugh, that one hug, that one person who once made your world feel complete. You tell yourself you've moved on, but then a song plays, a scent hits you, or a random street reminds you of them, and suddenly your heart tightens again. You see, that's the power of emotional attachment to the past. It makes you live in a time that no longer exists. Let me tell you a story. There was a guy named Ayan. He once loved a girl so deeply that every part of his day revolved around her. Her messages, her laughter, her presence. But like all fragile things, their relationship ended, not with a big fight, but with quiet distance. Ayan told himself he was okay. He started working harder, meeting new people, pretending he had healed. But deep down, he hadn't. Every night, he would scroll through their old chats, reread her "I miss you" messages, and imagine how things could have been different if he had just said the right words, if he hadn't let pride win. He was stuck, not in the present, but in the shadow of a love that had already died. Does that sound familiar? Maybe you've been there too. Maybe there's someone from your past who still lives in your thoughts. Even though they've moved on, maybe your heart still whispers their name when you're alone. But here's what the Stoics would say. You cannot start a new chapter if you keep rereading the old one. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And when we keep clinging to the past, we are reacting, not living. You see, emotional attachment to the past is like holding a burning coal, hoping it will someday turn into warmth, but it never does. It just keeps hurting you. Ayan eventually realized this. One evening, he deleted the old messages, not out of anger, but out of acceptance. He stopped asking why and started saying thank you for the lessons, the memories, the growth. Because the past isn't meant to be lived in, it's meant to be learned from. So let me ask you, are you still holding on to someone who left long ago? Do you still open that chat thread sometimes just to feel close to what once was? If yes, it's time to let go, not because they were bad, but because you deserve peace. The past was a lesson, not a life sentence. And the moment you stop chasing what's gone, the universe will bring you what's meant to stay. Number 9, the guilt of prioritizing yourself. Have you ever said no to someone and then spent the whole night feeling guilty about it? Maybe it was a friend asking for a favor when you were already exhausted. Or maybe it was your partner wanting your time when you just needed silence. But even though you knew you needed to rest, you still felt bad, didn't you? It's strange. We live in a world that constantly says, love yourself. But the moment you actually do, people call you selfish. Let me tell you a story. There was a girl named Zara. She was the kind of person who always showed up for everyone. If her friends were sad, she'd stay up till 3 a.m. comforting them. If her boyfriend needed something, she'd drop everything for him. She was the emotional backbone for everyone, except herself. One day she hit a breaking point. She woke up and felt empty. Not angry, not sad, just drained. She realized she'd been pouring from a cup that had been empty for years. And when she finally decided to take a step back, to say no, something unexpected happened. The same people she had sacrificed everything for started calling her distant, changed, even selfish. Zara cried that night, not because she missed them, but because she realized something painful. People love you as long as you serve their needs. The moment you choose yourself, they start to question your worth. Have you ever felt that? Have you ever tried to love yourself, only to feel guilty, like you were betraying someone else's expectations? Maybe in your relationship, you always gave more, cared more, forgave more, and the one time you pulled back, they made you feel like you were the problem. That's not love. That's manipulation disguised as affection. The truth is, prioritizing yourself doesn't mean you don't care. It means you finally understand that you matter too. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You owe yourself the love you so freely give to others," and that's the wisdom you need to hold close. You see, guilt is a trick your mind plays when it's been conditioned to please. You've spent years making others happy, but what about you? When was the last time you did something only for yourself, without explaining, without apologizing, without feeling bad? Zara learned that peace isn't found by pleasing others, it's found in setting boundaries. And the moment she stopped chasing validation, she found something she'd been missing all along: self-respect. So ask yourself, when was the last time you chose yourself, even if it disappointed someone? When was the last time you said, "No, not today," and actually meant it? It's not selfish to protect your energy. It's survival. And those who truly love you will never make you feel guilty for doing so. Because sometimes the greatest act of love is choosing you. Number 10, the fear of change. Let me ask you something. Have you ever stayed in a relationship long after you knew it was over? You knew it wasn't working. The laughter was gone. The warmth had faded. The love felt forced, but still you held on. Why? Because deep down you were scared. Scared of what life would look like without them. Scared of starting over. Scared of the silence that comes after goodbye. That's the thing about change. It terrifies us, even when it's the very thing we need. Let me tell you a story. There was a boy named Adil. He loved deeply, maybe too deeply. For years, he stayed with someone who no longer saw his worth. He kept convincing himself that maybe things will get better. He remembered their first kiss, the late night calls, the promises of forever. And every time he tried to leave, those memories pulled him back. He wasn't in love with her anymore. He was in love with the memories of who she used to be. And that's what happens to many of us, doesn't it? We hold on to people, habits, jobs, and versions of ourselves that no longer fit us, because the idea of change feels like losing a part of who we were. But what if change isn't loss at all? What if it's rebirth? You see, the Stoics taught us that life is constant motion. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The universe loves change. It's what it's made of." Everything changes. The seasons, The tides, our hearts, our dreams, and yet we try to resist it as if we can freeze time. Have you ever thought about your first love? Remember how it felt? That rush, that excitement, that fear. But then life changed. You changed. And maybe that love ended, but you learned something from it, didn't you? You became stronger, wiser, softer in some places and tougher in others. Change did that. Adil eventually realized something powerful. Staying where you don't belong hurts more than the fear of moving on. So one day he finally walked away. He didn't know what waited ahead, but for the first time in years, he felt peace. Because the unknown may be scary, but it's also where growth lives. So let me ask you, what are you afraid to change? Is it a relationship that's no longer right for you? A habit that's holding you back? A dream you're too scared to chase? Change is uncomfortable, yes. It feels like walking into the dark. But every sunrise you've ever seen was once darkness too. Don't let the fear of change keep you trapped in what's familiar but killing your spirit. Sometimes the universe takes things away, not to hurt you, but to make room for something better. So, take that step. Let go of what was. Embrace what's becoming. Because the moment you stop fearing change, you finally start living. You've just journeyed through 10 powerful truths. 10 things that quietly steal your peace without you even realizing it. And if you've made it this far, I want you to pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself one question. What am I still holding on to that's holding me back? Because here's the truth. Life isn't about adding more. It's about letting go. We spend so much time chasing what's next. The next relationship, the next apology, the next chance, that we forget to look at what's already weighing us down. Sometimes the heaviest things we carry aren't in our hands, they're in our hearts. Maybe it's the need for validation, that whisper in your head that says you're not enough unless someone approves of you. Maybe it's the person who only takes but never gives, who drains you but you keep around because you're scared of being alone. Or maybe it's the emotional attachment to your past, that ghost of love that still lives in your memory. Whatever it is, my friend, it's time to release it. Because every time you choose peace over chaos, silence over noise, and self-respect over guilt, you're not losing anything. You're reclaiming yourself. Let me tell you something deeply real. The most peaceful people aren't the ones who have it all figured out. They're the ones who've learned how to walk away without announcing it. They've mastered the art of silent transformation. They let go in silence, heal in silence, and evolve in silence. You don't need to prove your pain. You don't need to explain your growth. The right people will feel it. The wrong ones will fade away, and that's okay. Think about your own story, the people you've loved, the ones you've lost, the memories you replay when you're alone. Each of them shaped you. Each heartbreak, each disappointment, each goodbye, they were all preparing you for the peace you're about to experience. The Stoics said that happiness is found in accepting the flow of life, not fighting it. And maybe that's what you need right now. Not another battle, not another argument, but quiet acceptance. So tonight, before you sleep, sit with yourself for a moment. Ask your heart what it's ready to release. And when it answers, listen. You don't have to announce your healing, just start living it. Because real strength isn't loud, it's silent. It's the calm after the storm. It's the quiet decision to say, I deserve peace. And when you finally eliminate what doesn't serve you, your life won't just change. You will change. You'll walk lighter, love deeper, and finally feel free. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.